That was fun. All right. Man, I almost trimmed off my beard today. I was just feeling like... Urgh. Laughter travels far in the wilderness. People are a little bit cautious of getting close to one another. And so there's a lot of waving from afar and doing crazy things from afar, you know. So there's no speed limit out here. Although they say they will prosecute people for reckless driving. But I heard a story a long time ago. You know, this has been my I think my 18th year here. My first Burning Man. Yesterday was my anniversary. I came in right about this time. And what happened was I was at the Rainbow Gathering in Italy, the European Rainbow Gathering in Italy. He built this pyramid of wood that was at least twice the size of my van, twice as high, with a sphere of wood on the top. And on the night of the full moon, he walked into it and lit it on fire for us in the main circle. And there was, like all the locals had come up to join us for the full moon celebration. And when he lit it, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, people were just so quiet and respectful. And very quickly, the shaft of flame rose into the sky that looked like the letter L. You know, it was just this solid shaft of light, of fire, and you know, at least as tall as the trees. And it everybody was just staring into it. And at that moment I got this message from the universe that said, go to Burning Man. And I had almost made it, like in the summer of, I think, 98. I almost made it, but we got Volkswagen bus. Yellow, painted yellow. And she let me paint the Flower of Life on the side as we traveled around the country with that. So anyway, I was like, well, if I'm gonna go to Burning Man, I'd have to like leave tomorrow, you know. So I did. And next morning, I got back to my bus. I left it at a friend's house in Baltimore, and the next morning at 7 a.m. I started driving cross country, and it was a Tuesday morning, and by sunset on Friday I pulled off of the pavement and onto the playa for the first time. And as I'm driving onto the playa, there was there was a flatbed truck hauling a trailer. That's right, it had a trailer, and on the trailer was a beautiful, what must have been, when it was all put together, a beautiful Bonanza, probably about a 6-seater, gold and white. And it's one of those that has a tail that it doesn't have 3 fins, it only has 2, right, in a V shape. And the propeller was bent. This very shiny, chrome propeller was all bent up. And the story is that somebody was so excited about getting here that they forgot to put their landing gear down. It cost them a penny. Nobody was hurt apparently, but except somebody's pocketbook. So I pulled up to the gate to be anonymous, and this brother's like, "Hey, good to see you. Do you have a ticket?" And I was like, "No." I said, "How much does he want for it?" He says, $143. I said, "Sold." And we transacted, and I gave that kid a ride back into here, dropped him off past the gate, and I drove around that big circle that you see around the outside of it until I found a spot that worked for me at 6 o'clock on the outer rim. And I pulled off my bicycle and I rode out to the Man. And that year the theme of Burning Man was the ocean world. And so the Man stood atop, the base of the Man was a giant lighthouse, and the Man was on top of the lighthouse. And kind of shock would be an understatement, to see all this craziness, because by then it was dark, and actually, let me take a step back, because there's a really cool thing. When I was coming off of the highway, off of the pavement, and past that truck with the airplane on the back, and as I approached the will call, it kind of rained a little bit, but the sun was shining, and big drops. It rained big drops very briefly for maybe like 3 minutes, and straight overhead there was one of the weirdest phenomenons I've ever seen. It was like it was a rainbow straight overhead, except it was all red. I've never seen anything like that. Actually, that's not true. I have seen something like it, but it was an actual rainbow. It was a full spectrum, but it was straight overhead. And that was another weird, totally weird. I won't go into that story right now, but really weird phenomenon. I don't even know what that's called, what that was, if they have a name for it. So it was dark. I'm up on top of the lighthouse, and I look out over the playa, and way off in the distance I see this giant white whale. It's all lit up from the inside, and its tail is going like this as it drives along, and there's people, you can tell there's people on the top of riding the top of the whale, and the whale is, inside of the whale there's a sound system pumping, banging out a bass beat. And then way over this way there was a giant shark. And the shark is moving like this, right? And I got to see it later, that it was made of 4 sections. The front section was the drive section, and then there was a trailer that had, and the drive section had, I think the drive section had speakers on it, but the next section was the section that had the DJ in it, And then there's another section that had the generator in it, and then there was the tail, and so the whole thing was moving like a shark moves, like this, right? And the thing was easily as long as a city bus, if not longer, And I was like in heaven, And it turns out, that 24 hours later, they burned the man, and then I stayed over, saw the man burn and everything like that. The next day was they burned the temple, and the temple I was just so amazed at this. The temple, this brother, Mr. Best, I can't remember his first name, Dick. I think his name is Dick Best. Built the temple that year, and I don't remember what the name of the temple was, but I was just really impressed by it because it was, it definitely had a temple feeling. And to me, Burning Man has always been about the temple. It is easily the most sacred place at Burning Man, besides what's inside of your heart. And there was the whole, if you've never been to Burning Man, it's all about being able to go to the temple and sit quiet, or write messages to people that have passed, write messages to the universe, write messages to yourself about what you want to change and what you want to let go of, what you want to bring into your life. There's people crying, there's people laughing, there's people getting married. I'm sure must be some people breaking up. And it's a full spectrum of human stuff. People grieving, people letting go. And it's all just sort of left at the temple. And then on Sunday night, whereas the night of the man burn, there's all this like hoo-ha. There's all this, burn that man, But the night of the temple burn is completely silent. There's a huge ring of people. By that point, about half of everybody's left, but there's still, at that point, there's probably, let's say there were 40,000 people when I got there, and there were maybe 20,000 left, and they were all at the temple. And they're, maybe 100 yards out from the temple in this giant circle, and 15 deep all the way around, and the art cars out beyond that, and all the art cars shut off their music and everything like that, and it's just completely quiet. And then the temple is lit on fire, and it isn't until the last piece start to make noise, and when it falls to the ground, then everybody runs in, and then they walk around it, and it's kind of a thing to walk around the fire, and it's like a closing ritual, and people keep a vigil on that fire all night, and it gets smaller. The group of people gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's a scene, because then people are leaving. Camps are packing up, or have been packing up all day, and they're ready to go. And I stuck around for another couple of days. Oh yeah, I know the reason why I'm telling this story is because I wanted to tell this story about the Deep Playa. Okay, so the Black Rock City is, these rings of streets that are alphabetical and numerical, and it's arrayed out like a clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and so forth. And the man and the temple are at 12 o'clock, and the city goes from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then out past all of it is surrounded by this giant fence that's a giant pentagram. And the brother that designed it all definitely he was an architect, and I think he passed a couple of years ago. I don't remember what his name is, but he did a great job. Because it's all, he obviously knew a lot about sacred geometry. And everything out past the man is considered like the deep playa, but everything out past the temple, between the temple and the pentagonal, what they call it, a trash fence. That's exactly what it's for. It's to keep the trash that the wind picks up from getting scattered out into the wilds. But everything out past the temple is what's known as the deep playa. And this, back then, like I said, there were maybe 40,000 people, right? Now, last year, there were 80,000 people, which sounds like a lot, but, Couchilla is what? It's a couple 100,000 people over 2 weekends, So, festivals are tending to get a whole lot bigger than Burning Man in terms of numbers, but I think what it takes to do Burning Man is a whole nother, that's 80,000 people that are self-sufficient. They've all come with their own food and water for a week. And it's, you got to come with more than just food and water. You got to, be able to take care of yourself and thrive, as opposed to be, just in survival mode. It's not like the whole point of coming out here is not just to survive. It's about being in a position to enjoy being here, right? Whatever that means to you. And it doesn't take much for me to dig it, because I could dig it even if there wasn't anybody here. In fact, until yesterday, about this time, I hiked out that way, and I got a little height. There's a railroad track that runs along that whole way, and I climbed up onto that railroad track, and I looked out this way, and I saw that I saw where everybody was. Up until that point, I was willing to just hang out there and all by myself. There were a couple other camps like this, scattered around. But last night I drove around and I just looked at the lights, and I found this whole collection of weirdness going on out here. And this morning I drove around and I saw how big all this was. I mean, there's a couple thousand people over there, and there's more over there. There's a couple thousand people over there too, And so anyway, my first Burning Man in 2002. After the temple burn, I stuck around for another couple of days, and I saw it, kind of hurry to do that. So looked out here in the deep playa, and I saw, imagine if way out there you saw what looked like a rubber ducky. So I got on my bike on that Monday afternoon, and I rode out to that rubber ducky, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and as I got closer, I realized that the rubber ducky was actually up on top of a building that people had built out there, and in the building, when I got there, there was a bar, with a piano. and people had put all this energy into building a rubber ducky bar out in the middle of friggin', I mean, literally nothing, from the ground up. And now they were going to spend a couple of days taking it apart and disappearing it till there was nothing there. And so you could imagine it was a nice refuge while the rest of the world was coming apart. Literally, the Black Rock City was being dismantled. And, these folks, these crazy people, my people, I was like, my people, who would put a friggin' rubber ducky thing way out here, So I couldn't get enough of this stuff, and so I vowed that next year I was going to come a lot earlier, and I've been coming ever since. So last night was my anniversary, the Friday before Labor Day. And tonight would be the night that they would burn the man, but obviously there's not going to be any of that. There's actually a fire ban in the whole state of Nevada right now, and especially on the playa. No permits have been issued for fires. Ended up at my rubber ducky story. I love the that humanity does stuff like that, builds a rubber ducky bar out in the middle of nowhere and then takes it apart just for fun because we can, I mean, I realize that it's not, finding a cure for cancer, and it's not, furthering science and technology and all that kind of stuff, but one of the things that I've always loved about Burning Man is it encourages and supports this sort of quirky, snarky sense of humor that is somewhat sarcastic and definitely irreverent. And dare I say, too clever for its own good, And yeah, so, and it just fits my kind of humor. Oh, it looks like people are flying out there. It's gonna be me next year. Where is it? The bus. Let's see. There's the bus. There's people flying way out there. So out past that bus, I discovered you can Google Black Rock Hot Springs, and I don't know how far it is from here, but it's all the way, it's on the other side of the Black Rock Desert. And I Googled what it takes to get there. If you, if you put in the, Google Maps, and it takes you back out to the road and all the way around. It takes like 3 hours to get. Let's see, and it looks like it's only like a half an hour. There's a road that goes from Empire, the little village of Empire, which is way over here. Highway 48 turns into Highway 49, and it follows along the base of that mountain. And just on the other side of this is something like Saddleback or Razorback Mountain or something like that. And right where it hits, where the mountain comes down to the playa, on this end is where Trago Hot Springs is supposed to be. Looks like it's a giant, it's a big, almost like a little pond, you know? And I haven't been to that either, but there's still time. It could happen. Oh, look at this guy. Going for the land speed record. You know, I tried that once, going for the land speed record on a bicycle. You know how you try to get your bike going really fast. I tried to do that on the Playa a couple of years ago, and oh, this is looking beautiful. The camera. Yeah, yes. Well, anyway, I tried to do that. It was right about this time. Community bikes. They call them yellow bikes, but they're all painted green. And you know, anybody can use them. And I started riding that way. And right about now, and I got the bike going pretty good. And then something happened with the chain. The chain caught, and I did a face plant. And it was right at that moment when I just wanted to get the car, I just wanted to get the bike going fast enough to coast, you know, and stand up on it, you know. And I was feeling very, very free. And instead of being able to carry through with that feeling of freedom, I got to carry through that feeling of, oh shit, my face is in the dirt. What is the lesson one is supposed to take from that? I've been wondering for the past 2 years, you know? You see that color, how the sky is kind of orange and the sun, it doesn't look natural. And that's because that's the fires that are coming from being blown this way, smoke and particulates being blown this way from the east, from the west, the Bay Area, those fires from Northern California. So, yeah. Cool. Alrighty then. Well, I have so many busy things that I have to do now. Gotta hurry up and get busy doing absolutely nothing. So I'm gonna call this a day. This looks so beautiful here. Let's do another little look-see around. This is definitely one of my favorite times at Burning Man. When it's still like this. So last night, the moon came up over there. The moon came up over here. And it was a beautiful night. And I'm sitting here. I got my little speaker there blinking away color into the night, and I've got some little lights. I tried to take a picture, but it didn't do it any kind of justice. And I realized, of course, you can't fit everything into a camera. You know, you just can't fit all the goodness into a camera. You can try, just keep trying, but it's just not going to happen. So, green ball. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh, that feels so good. Yeah, I think I'm going to get another one of these, a little bigger, for my back, because I like how this one is kind of slack. Works really well. Like this, and just put it right here. You know. And this is my new desk that I made for doing my computer work. After I leave here, it might be an ongoing project. It's because this is where they shoot car commercials. Yeah. There we go. It's gonna dip in a few minutes, and I figured why not just include that in the final, which gives me a moment to tell you another story. So, this time last year, I was the master brewer, or one of the master brewers, at the Center Camp Cafe. And the reason I took the gig was so that I could get a free ticket to do an installation of my artwork. And it's called the Oracle of Metamorphosis. And I think there's pictures of it on my Instagram feed. But it was 300 pages in a 8.5 by 11 full color format from my the 7 books of Divine Metaphysics. And they're excerpts from for a year, I think from 2016 to 2017, or 2017 to 2018, somewhere in there. I did, every day I composed 10 questions on Divine Metaphysics and posted them on social media with a photograph of something nifty. And then every 3 months I would compile all of that into a book. And so I published 4 books that year, and in between each one I wrote and published a novel. And so to try to make them try to take those ideas and flesh them out a bit more in practical terms. How would that look in the world? And so I was a book writing fiend, and it felt wonderful. You know, I think I was publishing a book sometimes every month, and sometimes every 2 months, you know. And to say I felt expressed would be an understatement. And so, why did I go into all that? Oh yeah. what I didn't know at the time was the cancer was real, how real that cancer was. I got back 2 weeks after I got back. I got diagnosed, and after 4 months of trying to make myself as healthy as I could possibly make myself, but still not touching the cancer, doing anything that was making the cancer get any smaller, I underwent chemo radiation treatments, and then on that was in February 12th, and by June 10th I was declared cancer-free. And at the moment they're monitoring to see if it comes back. And so, whoops. Yep, there we go. All right, the sun is sitting on the mountain. The width of the sun is a degree of arc, and let's see if we can flip this around. And in theory, it should take 4 minutes. If this were an actual Burning Man event, it would look just like this. With another, 70,000 people and all their stuff. Yeah. But no. Yeah. There it goes. Blink. And that is that. That is all you get. Crazy. How you doing, brother? Oh boy. Dust in the eyes. Alrighty then. We love you.